Hey guys, what's up? Tim Avery here with Visual Testaments, and I just had another dream, and this is kind of a long one, but there's a lot of things in this dream. I remember getting a comment from one of my other dreams that I posted. I think the first one I got had a lot of things in there. So I told this dream to my wife, and she was like, "Babe, there's a lot to this dream," and I don't want to say what she has said, because I heard another dream interpreter said, like, don't try to give somebody your dream interpretation if they're trying to help. So if you want to help with this dream interpretation, I'd really appreciate it. It's kind of a long one, so if you got a pen and paper, or if you're listening to it, just listen to it a couple times or whatever. But I was driving this trolley in this dream, and I had to write some notes down because I wanted to make sure that I remembered everything, because it's a lot of detail. And I was driving this trolley, and it was like a narrow trolley. And what I remember about this trolley, a couple things that are really interesting. It had this joystick. If you remember, like inside of a helicopter, it has like a joystick that you can kind of control the helicopter in between your legs. And so it had that type of joystick. And I remember, like, this is pretty fun. I was really enjoying myself driving this trolley. And but it was like a narrow trolley. It was like a single file trolley. I guess something that you would see at like a kid's park. You know, kind of like one of those trolleys where you just kind of, get in behind each other. Anyway, so I was driving this trolley, and I was thinking, man, this is a very fun job. And I remember thinking, like, I always get the fun jobs. I don't know why I had that thought in my dream, but I always get the fun jobs. And so I was thinking, it's like, man, I know my wife and my daughter would really appreciate this dream, or appreciate this job that I have. So I was thinking about calling them, and then I hit a button, and the button actually had a song that was playing, and it sounded like, at first I thought it was the sound or the theme song to like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like, the trolley song, but it wasn't that. It was the Charlie Brown theme song. It was like do 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 do. I know, weird, right? So that song was playing, and for whatever reason I couldn't think about why I was thinking about that or in that dream, but I just thought it was fun. The other thing I thought about this when I was driving this trolley, when I was driving it, it had some movement. Like when you're going down the track, you can steer it left or right. It would stay on the track, but you can kind of maneuver it just a little bit left and right. And I didn't know why. And it's kind of like, if you've been down to Disney World, where you've been on that, that little race car at Tomorrowland, where you can drive that car, and it kind of follows like a little track. It's like a go-kart car. You follow that little track, and you can turn it so much, but it kind of bumps you back. To stay on the track. And so that's kind of like how this trolley was driving, which I thought was pretty neat. And so you had a little bit of left to right movement. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. So now I'm driving this trolley, and it was empty. And so I was coming down south. I remember this, just to kind of give you a little bit of direction reference. I was driving south, and it was looping around to pick up my passengers, because they're kind of waiting on this side. And so I was driving down south, and I was looping around to pick up my passengers. And so I was coming up my approach to pick up my passengers, because they're waiting. And I saw where all the people were at, and then I noticed, okay, I probably need to stop right now. So I slowed down and stopped. But when I stopped, this is the interesting part, I guess I must have stopped short, because the trolley just nudged its way up to where it really needed to stop. And so I thought that was like, okay, all right, I couldn't fail then with that, but the pickup. So I thought that was interesting. And the people got on board, and then I got my load of people, and I head off. But as I was heading off, I noticed another trolley was coming down with another driver, and he was making his approach to pick up more passengers, and I headed out. And so I was heading out, people kind of looking around on the trolley, just kind of enjoying the sights of the world or whatever. And then I noticed ahead that there was a narrow pass coming. There's like trees, limbs, bushes, brush, just some overhang. And so we just kind of come into this narrow passageway of some greenery. Okay. And so I was coming down this path, and I noticed that there was a limb, like a tree limb, that was down. And my thought was like, well, I don't want my passengers to brush up against this limb as we're passing by, because the path was so narrow. And so I stopped the trolley, picked up the limb, and just kind of tossed it aside. And then I noticed that there were some deer. They were kind of, looked like they were fighting or something, or bucking or whatever deer do. And the deer were kind of small, but I noticed like they had big antlers, okay? One deer must have got his antlers knocked off because all he had left was like little nubs or whatever. And the other deer had just one antler, and it had like points on it. And because I don't know deer like that, I assumed, like, well, I guess this is what you would call an 8-point buck, but it just had one antler left. And I noticed behind that deer was a tree that was down. So I thought, okay, they must have been fighting, knocking all this stuff down or whatever. So I make after I cleared that first limb, I get back on the trolley and make my approach up towards the deer. And one deer just kind of just fled and just hopped up the hill and just kind of went out of the way. The other deer with one antler just stood his ground. And we were and I was inching my way up. I didn't want to intimidate it, whatever. I was just kind of inching my way up to the deer. And he stood his ground, and he kind of like bucked up and was like going to charge the trolley to try to ram it. And he did. It rammed the trolley, and like backed up and rammed it. And so I was like just inching my way up. I was thinking, like, buddy, you ain't gonna win this. You ain't gonna win this battle. We're gonna inch our way through. I'm just to let him know that we're coming through. And so he bucked up and hit it again, and then he must have gave up because he just kind of just took off. Okay, and so we got to the tree that was down, and so I looked at that tree. I was like, man, I don't know if I'll be able to move this tree out of the way, but maybe I can just move it just enough to get it out of the path of us coming through. So I did. So I stopped the trolley, got off, and got in front of that tree and just kind of lifted it and just kind of pushed it up out of the way. And it did. It moved, and it looked a lot heavier. I mean, it seemed it would be a lot heavier because of the size of it. But it moved with ease and just kind of got out of the way. And so I pushed it up the hill. And then so after I got that obstacle out of the way, I looked down the path that we were headed. Standing there, I noticed there's another obstacle. And this obstacle, I can't really, maybe it's not revealed to me. I was doing some thinking about this dream, trying to ask the Holy Spirit, like, Holy Spirit, what are you trying to show me? What do I need to see? And all I can think of that was shown to me, like the Holy Spirit, He was showing me that it was like a mirage. You ever like did some long driving in your life where, and it's just a straight drive, like a road, like a road that's super straight, and you look down and it's just kind of like a mirror, a mirage, or like a mirror type image. It almost looks like the ocean or you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying, if you know what that means. And so that's all I could think of. And so I thought it wasn't revealed to me, but if that's what I could see. But I knew that I couldn't pass that obstacle without having something to assist us. And so I'm standing there looking around, and I noticed that we had stopped alongside a construction site, and there was no construction workers there. However, there was this mound of dirt, that construction workers were working on or whatever, and had their equipment up on it. But then I noticed that there was something up on the hill, and I was like, okay, that's what we need. And so I was thinking, okay, I need to get up there and try to get that. So I try to make my way up that mound of dirt. And the best way I can explain, like if you ever gone up on a construction site and they've got this big mound of dirt, like they're moving around with a bulldozer or whatever, that's kind of like what this mound of dirt was like. And so I try to make my way up the dirt mound, and I couldn't, because either the dirt was just too soft, I couldn't get enough traction, and just couldn't make my way up there. And so I got back down, and then I come back down standing and looking around, and I noticed the other trolley from the beginning of the dream was coming. It was coming up behind, and it stopped. And the trolley driver noticed that I was off my trolley. The trolley was stopped, and so he got off his trolley, came up to me, and we talked and said, hey man, what's going on? And I told him, I said, man, you don't understand, like we had some obstacles, and that's what I said. I told him about the limb that I moved. I told him about the deer, and I told him about the tree I just moved. And he goes, man, I appreciate you doing that, because for sure, if you didn't deal with it, then we would have had to deal with it with my passenger. So I appreciate you doing that. I said, okay, well, here's the new obstacle. You see, and I kind of pointed in the direction. I said, you see what's ahead there? He goes, yeah. I said, well, we can't get past that obstacle unless we have that up on top of the hill. And I pointed to the construction site hill. And he goes, oh, okay. And so we kind of looked around trying to figure out a way to get up there. And then we noticed that there was a scissor lift kind of behind the mountain, the hill, behind this hill. And it was left on, and it was just going up and back down, up and back down. And I was thinking, okay, if I time it right, I can hop on, and while it's going up, I can hop off, get on the hill, and get what I need and come back down, or whatever. So I was thinking about, like, let's do this. And he's like, okay, let's try that. And so we do that. Get over there, get up on the scissor lift, and I'm timing it to where I can just hop back off. I hop off, and my mind is focused on getting that object and coming back down. And before I know it, I turn around and he got on the scissor lift and got on the hill too, and he was kind of on there looking around at stuff, and he was like, man, this is some pretty cool stuff up here. What is all this stuff? And then he noticed another object that was on the ground, and he was like kind of, pushing around with his foot, whatever, and it was like, man, I think we might need this. This is something we might need. This is pretty cool. We should grab this. And I told us, like, man, we don't need that, but we do need this. We can't just take everything or anything we don't need. Let's just take this and go. And he kind of reluctantly was like, all right. And so we got back down. And so, before I got back down, I had that object, and I realized that the object was kind of like a big Yeti cooler. This is what I can think of. It was like a big Yeti cooler. And I figured, okay, if I can't carry it and jump on this scissor lift, so I threw it down. I knew it was going to break. I threw it down to the ground and next to the scissor lift. And I hopped on the scissor lift and made my way back down, grabbed it. The other trolley driver that was with me, he got down. He didn't take anything else. He got back down. I grabbed the trolley, the cooler-sized object, and got back on my trolley, and I started moving forward, and then I woke up. So I need help with that dream. So if you can help me interpret that dream, that would be great. Donna's given some interpretation of it already, but I don't want to influence your interpretation of the dream. Help us out, and I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about this dream. So thanks, guys.